The characters in my books were fighting demons literally and figuratively this month. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to have you here. This is one of my favorite videos that I get to film each month, which is my wrap up. I absolutely love talking about all the books that I've gotten to read, kind of giving you some insight, my thoughts, my ratings. This is like my favorite time of the month. So I'm super excited to be doing a May wrap up, even though I feel like I don't even know what happened in May. When I look at the books that I read this May, I'm like, that was this month. May was like fast and slow at the same time. It was so weird. I read a total of 5 books this month. I have like really high ratings for all of these books, which means I had a lot of good reads this month, quality reads. And that's what we're looking for, you know? Doesn't matter the quantity, quality is key. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys about them today. We have a new release, we have a new author that I've never read before, and so I'm excited to share my thoughts with you guys. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop into today's video. So first up is Caraval. Guys, this feels like I read this like years ago. I can't believe I read that this month. But Caraval was the first book that I read this month. The first 3 books actually are books that I read in my Reading Fantasy for a Week video. So the first one for that was Caraval. This is by Stephanie Garber. It is a fantasy romance, and our main characters in this book are Scarlet, who is also called Crimson, which is so cute. When you read it, you figure out like why she's called Crimson and who calls her that, and it's literally adorable. Donatella, also known as Tella, who is her sister, and then Julian, who is this random guy that pops up into their life. These 2 sisters, Scarlet and Donatella, they are living with an abusive father, and every single year they write to this game master whose name is Legend, who orchestrates this like huge crazy game. It's honestly so hard to describe what the heck Caraval is, but basically it's like this game, this mind game. Essentially, if you win it, you get 1 wish from him because he's super powerful and he can grant people 1 wish. For 7 years, she's been writing to Legend and asking him to please come to their town so that they can experience and enjoy Caraval. And so finally, she gets a response. He invites her to come to Caraval, but little does she know she's a part of this sick game, this twisted game that Legend is playing, and she has to solve a mystery. She only has a certain amount of time to solve that mystery. It's just absolutely crazy, and it's so fast paced. A lot of times when you read fantasy, it takes a while to get into the story because there's so much world building and so much like magic system explanations, and this is just super straightforward. So this is a great book to begin with if you want to get into fantasy as well, because there isn't too much world building at all that's done, and there isn't like a huge magic system. It's just like super straightforward, which I really liked. And the action was super fast paced in this. You got some romance in this, which was super cute. I just didn't expect to like this as much as I did. Another thing that I really loved about this was that Scarlett's character had so much growth. She is like the first daughter, so she has like this sense of duty, always putting others before herself. It was really nice to see her kind of come into her own. So yeah, I rated this a 4.25 stars. It was pretty good. There was no spice. Like there was like a little bit of like kissing and stuff like that, but there was like absolutely no spice. I'm pretty sure this is like a YA fantasy as well. I bought Legendary like before I even finished this, and I still am planning to pick it up hopefully this month. Absolutely loved this. In that same video, I picked Legendborn out of the little jar. I was really excited to read this. As you can see from the cover, our main character is black. So this is my first time reading a fantasy where the main character is black, and I was super excited to get into it, and I was just like hoping it was gonna be really good. Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is fantasy. It's like fantasy romance. It's a contemporary fantasy because it's set in present day, and it's also a YA fantasy, so has a lot going for it. And it does have a little love triangle, and I'm really interested to see how that's gonna turn out in book 2. I don't know, this is the first time I'm like, ugh, like I'm nervous about a love triangle. The setting is UNC Chapel Hill's campus, which is really interesting, and the main characters for this book are Bree, Nick, and Selwyn. So basically this story is about a girl who is following her mom's footsteps. She's going to UNC Chapel Hill, and her mother dies a little bit after that decision is made. Her mom did not want her to go to UNC Chapel Hill. Her and her mom got into a big fight before she died because of the fact that her mom did not want her to go to UNC Chapel Hill, despite the fact that her mom went to UNC Chapel Hill herself. There was a lot about grief in the beginning, and overall, just in general, the beginning was very slow. I think it picked up around page 100. There was just a lot in the beginning, a lot of like info dumping, I think is what it mainly was. There's a lot to unpack. Like you have everything in this, from magic to microaggressions to love triangles, and then it also has like a really interesting juxtaposition of this secret society that is like mainly white, and Bree, who's black, is kind of like stepping into it, and then also this black secret society. There's a lot of magic going on this campus, and there's not too much I can say without spoiling it, but it's definitely worth the read. It's really well done. Once we got past that 100-page mark, I couldn't put it down at that point. Like, it was so good. I like these characters. I like this story. I'm excited to continue this series as well. I gave this a 4.75 stars. No spice for this. The only reason I took off some stars was just because there was just like a lot going on in the beginning, which made it a little confusing. It was so close, and I think the next book might be a 5-star for me because I hear that the next book is super good. Once I finished Legendborn, I picked Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood out of the jar. So actually this is called House of Earth and Blood, and it's part of the Crescent City series. So I didn't know that for the longest. The second book is called like House of Sky and Breath or something. I mean, I've said this so many times this month. This book is ginormous. I don't know why, because I felt like the first 300 pages were unnecessary, but this was 799 pages. So let's just call it 800, why don't we? Because this was 800 pages. But despite that, I really, really liked this book. This is a fantasy. It's a modern urban fantasy. And what that just means is that it's like fantasy, but there's a lot of modern aspects to it. The characters are going to the nail salon, they're going to the club, they have cell phones, they have everything that we have. It's just like super modern, which was really cool because I still felt like there was like an ancient aspect to it, just because like they have this ancient governing government. Our main characters in this book were Bryce, Quinlan, Hunt, Rune, who was Bryce's brother, Danica, who is like a pretty big part of the story. There is this murder that happens, and Hunt and Bryce are put on the case to solve the murder mystery, to figure out what is going on. And it's interesting because to put Hunt and Bryce together is like very strange. Hunt is kind of in this situation where he's serving out a sentence basically. So he's ancient and powerful. He's immortal, so he like is still young, he's still cool, whatever, but he's ancient. Bryce is half human, half fae, so she's a normal age. She's like 25, 26. She's known as like this party girl, doing drugs, drinking, partying all the time. So they already are like bumping heads. But it's really interesting to see the story develop, to see the characters develop as they go along and solve this murder mystery, which is wild. I gave this 4 stars because the beginning of it like took forever to get into the story. It just didn't have that 5-star feeling. It felt like a strong, solid 4 stars. And then I gave this 2 stars for spice. It wasn't incredibly spicy. It was pretty chill. The last 2 books that I'm going to be talking about, I actually read them in my last reading vlog, which was what I read in a week. Any like super in-depth thoughts and feelings, I try to put those in reading vlogs so you can like see my reactions and my thoughts as I'm reading it. The first one was Happy Place, which I heavily annotated. I don't know if you can tell, but this was just a beautiful masterpiece. It lived up to all of my expectations. You guys know I love Emily Henry, and so I was super excited for this release. And like I've said in like multiple videos, I have this signed copy. I got this from Books A Million. I'm gonna cherish it forever. There were so many beautiful quotes in here. One of my favorites is, "In every lifetime, I choose," what is it? "In every universe, it's you for me." And then he says, "Even if it's not me for you," but like, oh my God, just like killed me. My heart, I can't take this kind of stuff. It was so cute. It's a romance. I've been hearing a lot of people say that a lot of her books are actually like contemporary fiction, which I actually would agree with. I think it's not like a straightforward romance. There's always like an extra added layer to it that's like a little more heavier, a little more serious, more real life. And I just absolutely love her writing in this. It's so good. The main characters in this story are Wynne and Harriet, but she's just called Harry. The other characters are pretty important too. They're like their friend group that they formed in college. And so it's really sweet. It's really cute. It like reminds me of college and like the friends that I've made. These friends go to Maine every single summer, and it just gives them this time to like reconnect with their inner child and to like go back to the days when they had no responsibilities and they could just be together, have fun. So they end up going back to this place that they always go to in Maine one last time because the place is getting sold, so they're not going to be able to come back anymore. And they just really try to make the most of it, try to do all the things that they always do. However, Wynne and Harriet, who were engaged and like super in love, they are hiding a secret from everyone, which is that they're no longer together and nobody knows. They have to basically pretend to be together for the week so that they can make it not awkward for their friends. What makes this book so special is that Harriet is so real. It had just like the best vibes ever, and the love was just beautiful. Just read it. This was a very, very easy 5-star book for me. I knew as I was reading it that it was going to be 5 stars, and when I got to the end, I was like, 5 stars. Maybe a 1 star for spice. There wasn't too much in it. it was just so good and I loved it. So we have arrived at the last book that I read for the month, which was The Two of Us by Taylor Torres. This is an author I've never read from before, and she currently only has this book out, so this is her first book. I have been seeing her all over Bookstagram, and I've been seeing people talk about her on Bookstagram, so I figured like I want to read this book and hopefully it will be like an amazing read that I can recommend, and I can confirm absolutely loved this book. So this is by Taylor Torres. This is a romance. It is literally everything that I would want in a romance. Our main characters in this story are Ambrose and Mara. I think this is dual POV. No, I think it's like then and now. It's like dual timeline. And I don't know if I said this, I think Happy Place is also, I can't remember. It feels like I read these things like so long ago. This is dual timeline as well. It goes like back and forth. So yeah, this is dual timeline. It's between then and now. And I do love a good then and now when it's done right. And this is done really well. They are childhood friends to lovers. He is her best friend's brother. This is second chance romance. And this is a small town romance as well. It's just like a beautiful wrapped in a bow romance. It's amazing. Mara, Ambrose, and Ambrose's sister Kat, they all meet when they're super young, and from that moment those three become fast friends. They're inseparable for years. This tragic thing happens and it's super sad. Mara like basically runs away after that. She runs away, she runs to New York. She doesn't want to ever have anything to do with that town. However, her dad ends up sick and she has to come back to the town to take care of him. I also folded over a lot of the pages in this book. One of my favorite lines from this is, "I don't want you to thank me for showing up for you. I want you to expect it from me, because I'm confident enough to know that I'll follow through every single time. In whatever way you need me, I'll follow through. I've got you." I just thought it was so sweet because that's exactly how love should be. Like, you know, that's how love should be. I rated this 5 stars. I loved it. It was so good. And I highly recommend. I gave it like a 1 rating for the spice. It wasn't anything too crazy, but it was just perfect. These are all of the books that I read this month. Hopefully I explained them in a way that really captured how great they were, and hopefully you now want to read them and add them to your TBR. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some good recommendations, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one.
When you're not here, the sun don't shine. When you're not near, I don't feel like I do when you're